Hi, and welcome to the Assembly Lines Podcast. I'm Chris Torrence. I'm bringing a special episode to you from sunny California. So let's get started.
Hello!
So I'm here in California helping Roger Wagner go through his cool collection of Apple II memorabilia. So let's take a look and see what he's got in this collection and hear from Roger himself. All right, Roger has an extensive collection of Apple II memorabilia, and I'm just kind of panning around here just to kind of show you the extent of it. And we'll just take a quick tour. And what is this?
Well,
is this part
hello.
of Roger's collection?
I hope not. I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you, Ken.
Hi, everyone. It's Ken Gagne of Juice GS. Just happened to be in the area and I'm pitching in and helping out wherever I can.
Well, thank you, Ken. And let's keep going on our tour here. So amongst Roger's collections, he has a lot of his own materials from Southwestern Data Systems as well as Roger Wagner Publishing. But he's also collected a bunch of unique items over the years. For example, here's this Keyport 71 overlay that you can plug into your Apple II computer. He's got a lot of other Apple II items like carrying cases for Apple IIs and IIes, as well as some really interesting machines. We've got Roger's demo unit that he used to carry around to trade shows. And let's talk to Roger about what this system was actually used for and how he put it together. Roger, what do you have in the mystery box?
Well, what we've got here is a portable sales case that has been repurposed to hold an Apple II. And this is what I used when I first started Southwestern Data Systems in 1978 and bought a briefcase, and this carrying box for an Apple II. Sanyo monitor all fits inside. 2 disk drives would go up here, and I'd take it around and show it to small businesses, sharing with them the future that was coming with personal computers.
Cool. Any interesting or funny stories about taking this thing around?
Since I didn't know anything about computers, I just showed them Hangman and Star Trek, and I go to a dry cleaners and say, hey, you got a small business here. Computers are going to change everything. Like, look at Hangman. Isn't that just great? For some reason, I wasn't a very effective salesman. But it did give me a lot of unoccupied time at home to learn how to program.
Cool. And where did that take you then?
I started publishing in Call Apple when it was still in the construction paper covers. I published a routine on renumbering an AppleSoft program. To do that, I had to actually move some code, some memory, because if it says go to line 100 and now it's 1,000, it needs an extra byte. So I have to move all that memory up. So that was the first program in machine language I learned how to write. I casually mentioned it to Al Tomervik one day, and he said, well, you should do a monthly column for us then on machine language programming. So that was the beginning.
All right, here's Brian Picchi. So Brian, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing?
Sure. So I'm Brian. I'm here in San Diego helping out Roger Wagner, just going through this immense inventory. It's beyond comprehension, really. I've never seen anything like it, but this is just really exciting going through. I have a big connection with the Apple II GS and the Apple II world as a user back in the 80s and early 90s, and then eventually as a developer myself. And so looking to see what treasures we can uncover.
What do you got there in your hands?
Right here, just a random sample out of this box. You can see you got Taxman, Pulsar 2, Serious Game, Broderbund, Labyrinth, just to name a few.
All right, let's check your back pockets there and make sure you got nothing in them.
Hey, easy. I'm innocent.
Hey, Roger, what are you doing?
Just going through this amazing historical archive, 4 decades of Apple II history And we're just opening up boxes and seeing what we find, and each one is just kind of a new surprise, like a digicorder from India. Yeah. A real-time clock, the chronograph, the haystack. So you know you want your Apple to know what time it is, just add this 5-pound handy device. Oh, wait a minute, here's something. There aren't many of these around. This is the F8 ROM and Interrupt Experimenters Kit. It's a card that goes in your Apple II, and with that it generates interrupts, and so originally it was done as a print spooler. But I also call this the $2 million chip. So the reason for that is the company, we were a publisher of this product, and the company actually had a license from Apple to sell a modified F8 ROM, mostly for their print spooler, and then we did this kind of hobbyist interrupt kit for it. But then one day, Franklin Computer came down in their private jet, London, to the local airport, came out and said, "We hear you've got a license for the Apple F8 ROM." Now, of course, it was of interest to them because they were in the middle of a legal fight with Apple Computer because they were selling a clone of an Apple II. And the design was not very protectable, but the F8 ROM was. So Apple said, stop doing that because you've got our code on there. Somehow they heard about this and said, hey, if we were to buy your company, why we just have this to publish too, the Interrupt Experimenters Kit in every Franklin computer. And as I recall, the number $2 million came up. $2 million, not just one, two. Well, that's pretty interesting, and I don't know, a week goes by and we're busy, looking at timeshare in Hawaii and whatever, and then we read in the newspaper that Franklin had reached an agreement with Apple Computer that for just $2 million, Franklin could license the F8 ROM and make their clones.
All right, and here is Ken Gagne in the Roger Wagner warehouse. So Ken, tell us about what you're doing.
Well, I am in Roger Wagner's warehouse, as you said. I was invited here to help sort and filter his exhaustive collection, which I assume would include HyperStudio and the like, but also a selection of incredible games, Ultima 3 and Ultima 4, which, confession, I've only ever actually played on the Nintendo, which also has a 6502 like the Apple II, so I'm not entirely cheating. But these are quite comprehensive in their collection. You have the manual, the book of Amber Runes, the floppy disk, of course, and the cloth map. So it's almost as good as Nox Archaeist. I thought that these would go for more on eBay, and they actually are selling in the double digits, so I guess these are more common than I thought. But as somebody who is more of a Nintendo gamer than an Apple gamer, it's awesome for me to get my hands on these. And of course, Wizardry. Robert Woodhead, the co-creator, was the keynote speaker at Kansas Fest just this past year. So it's neat to see this box. However, it is empty, no cloth map, no manuals, but it does have an errata, which says copyright notices on packaging and diskette labels are incorrect. They should read copyright 1981 by Andrew Greenberg, Inc., and Robert Woodhead, Inc., which makes me wonder what were the disc labels that were incorrect. So if we can complete this set and put it with the errata, I think that would be pretty cool to have.
Roger, what do you got there?
It's an Acorn. I wonder which one. Look, a secret panel. Why, it's a RISC PC6.
And why
600.
Why do you have this?
Because in the 90s, when HyperStudio became the #1 title worldwide with translations in Turkish, Welsh, Spanish, French, Portuguese, the British did not want to be left out, and they created HyperStudio to run on the Acorn computer, an ARM device.
Cool.
For the other overlays.
Oh my God!
And there they are.
Oh my God! Wow. Hold on, let me get a picture of you with Chris taking a picture of me and you. Wow.
So there's the VisiCalc overlay.
Wow, and look, there's books. I did love this thing. This was kind of one of those things like, wow, this would be really neat to spend time with.
Hey Roger, I see you're working on HyperStudio there. Didn't you have a special story to tell us about that?
Well actually, I do. While we were going through things, I found this bit of paper, and it was for a project idea I had. A lot of people might not know that Dr. Seuss, aka Theodore Geisel, lived in San Diego, a local. And so when we first started developing HyperStudio on the GS, one of the things that occurred to me is that it could be really neat. It's a creative tool for making stories. Imagine if we partnered with Dr. Seuss to have some of the first digital storybooks. They say, well, of course they did. No, at that moment they hadn't really come into being yet. And in fact, the product name, which I'm sure exists somewhere else for real now, but this was before it did, because we had the idea for something that would be called Dr. Seuss Storyworks. And I can read you some of this just because it's kind of cool. It says an interactive writing tool set for young people. And then I just did some brainstorming. I just made this for myself, writing, what might this thing be? So I said, add existing super high res, double high res graphics to illustrate your story, multiple column and freeform layouts of text and software, 20 different fonts, add visual interest, built-in drawing tools to create your own illustrations, built-in speller, icon-based menus for easy use even for early readers, special interactive mode that for documents that interact with the writer, include Dr. Seuss characters to write your own stories, and fancy borders make every storybook like a children's classic, and online help for each command, ages 7 to 13. So that's kind of my idea. HyperStudio GS is going to be great, but I kept waiting for it to be just a little better. I kept thinking, it's not quite there yet. I need one more thing. Can't go out there and knock on his door quite yet. Well, I kept working on it for many, many years, and eventually he passed. And so all that remains is this one piece of paper. Well, Brian, you've done very good so far. You've identified obscure games, hardware devices, drives, computers, power connections. But really, for the next level of this game, we have an extra special challenge for you. I just need to know, are you ready to go for the next level, or?
Do I take the cash or go for it? It's got an Apple logo, vintage. Gotta go for it.
Okay, well then, I'll tell you what, you open it. There we go. This is what's up. Reveal the panel to our audience.
Oh, wow. Look at this beauty.
And then on the side, where if you unscrew those two.
I love how it has the handles. It's like you mount it.
Rack mounted. I wonder what that
like a
switch
PDP
does.
11 or something. All right.
Does that, I suppose that goes between DOS and Pro DOS.
Whoa, what do we got here?
Up here, there's switches that say basic, AppleSoft integer, tell you which ROM you're in, monitor, I guess there's an AppleSoft integer monitor, ROM select, so I guess you choose what you want somehow, fan, speaker, drive with a switch. What is the switch like?
Write protect.
What's that?
Write protect, I bet.
Yeah. Probably.
Override write protect.
Yep.
Wow. And then behind here, we've got a mechanism for putting in ROMs.
Wow. Keyboard, game port. I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing out of here. Straight up. Don't scrape it.
It is a little scrapey. You have to.
Yeah, it's really
With
tight in there.
confidence. Oh, here it's hooked on. There we are. There's some rivet.
There we go.
There we go.
Here.
What is it?
Power supply underneath. Oh no, disk drive's underneath. No.
Yeah, two power supply right here.
So that's a super
Disk drives.
early Apple II. It does not have a label. It's got the 16K memory though. And then how many boards are in there? Just the one?
I think just the one. Yeah. What's the cards that are in there?
So the cards are... Oh, I've seen this before. Video and RF. So So got a video board. And then this one, there's a lead.
I wonder if those
Those
are
drives.
yeah, those
Yeah, that
that's
is?
a disk drive card.
We're heavy. Heavy stuff in here?
Well, Roger, any parting words?
There goes 40 years of the history of computing to the best place in the whole world it could be.
I'm putting it in.
What you got there?
An acorn?
Nope, it's going in.
HyperStudio, first ran on an arm wrist with
No,